The Exchange on Deep Dive.
Join us in tonight's edition of The Exchange as we explore the importance of vocational training, innovation, as well as skills training in unlocking opportunities for Zimbabwe's youth. We also want to look at how the government and stakeholders can support, examine the current structures and measures available for support in driving economic growth and development, because the ultimate trajectory and goal is Vision 2030, isn't it, ultimately? And of course, we want to be able to get there. Joining me this evening, I am joined by honorable members of Parliament. I'm joined by Honorable Taurai Dexter Malinganiso, who is Member of Parliament for Zimba South. Good evening, Honorable, and welcome to Capi Talk.
Thanks so very much for receiving us. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well, thank you, Honourable. We're also joined by Honourable Darlington Chikumbu, who is a Member of Parliament for Budiriro South. Good evening, Honourable Chikumbu, and welcome.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
And notably, I think both gentlemen are also members of the Parliamentary Youth Caucus. I think maybe for our listeners who might not appreciate what this is, perhaps you can just give us just a tidbit. What is the Parliamentary Youth Caucus, and what's the mandate, and what's the work that you're doing as members of Parliament who are part of the Youth Caucus?
Thank you. So the Parliamentary Youth Caucus is a non-partisan, I thought I should underline that, non-partisan, cross-party and cross-parliamentary grouping of members of Parliament who work together to advocate constitutional and legislative rights of youth, that is people between 15 and 35.
And it's important that non-partisan, because you're actually both here representing different political parties and ideas. So let's talk about the role that the vocational training centers play in addressing youth unemployment in Zimbabwe. Honorable Chikumbu.
Okay, thank you so much. So vocational training centers, they play critical role in imparting skills in our young people. They need to have certain skills to be able to look after themselves. So that's why now vocational training centers chip in and come into play. They don't consider maybe certain qualifications. They are different from those formal universities. That way, you are required to have certain number of subjects, certain points for you to be enrolled as a student. So these ones, they are sort of career specific. You want to be a carpenter, you want to be a mechanic, you want to be a dressmaker. That's how they then impart those skills in our young people, so that they can contribute towards their livelihoods and also the growth of our economy.
Indeed. I want to come to you, Honorable Malinganiso. A lot of people often say, the youth are very idle, the youth have got nothing to do. Is this the case, and how are you harnessing, this idleness or harnessing this potential and energy?
So you see Section 20 of the Constitution states that the state and all institutions and agencies of government at every level must take reasonable measures, including affirmative action programs, to ensure that youth, that is to say people between the ages of 15 and 35, have access to appropriate education and training. And I would want to underline the word appropriate education. Growing up, I thought education is the filling of a vessel. I've come to a realization that it's actually an awakening of consciousness. So you realize that our youth are idle, and I would like to underline also that this is an object of our terrible past, colonization, where we inherited an education system whose main agenda is to create certificate bearers that are not skilled. I would like to say also that these are kind of vessels that are filled, which vessels cannot take themselves from point A to point B. So to do away with the idleness, as the Youth Caucus, ours is advocates, and would therefore say that is where we look at the gaps in the curriculum, and actual advocate for an education curriculum that as Honorable Chigumba alluded to, that imparts technical skills. By technical skills, look, if one is trained in building, if one is trained in carpentry, if one is trained maybe in mechanics, these are actually going to take care of themselves. They are not going to be bored. Look, it's a situation where one who has certificate and one who has a skill. So a skill can actually help one take care of themselves in a manner that also contributes to nation building and in pursuit of Vision 2030.
Certificate on I want to also, I'm really interested to hear how innovation comes into all this, and how are you ensuring that, these programs that you're doing, elevating, the youths and, all the wonderful things that you've just, said, moments ago, are we ensuring that the skills we're giving them are relevant for the modern job market?
Yeah, this is the reason why we have this caucus, because one of the things that we are seized with is to make sure that when we come up with budgets, they must be meaningful to such an extent that they help us come up with programming or programs that then ensures that those who are in need of skills, they are getting the skills. And not just getting the skills, but they're getting the right skills. And for people to be innovative in this digital era, you would also expect them to be in an environment that is conducive for them to be innovative. And one of the things that we discuss in our caucus is that now that we are in the budget season, we want the youths to be alive to this process, because we feel that many youths, they don't really care about this budget process. But it is the one that then determines whether we are going to come up with that, conducive and a proper environment for them to be innovative. So we have, a situation whereby we would want to understand as a caucus, are our vocational training centers equipped with the modern equipment? Can you take a child from Hurungwe to a vocational training center, and after 3 months, that child will be able to compete with a child who is learning in America? Are we able to do that? So for us to then fully realize the potential of these young people, we want to make sure that when such processes like this budget process are taking place, the youths must also raise their voice, raise their concern, because the whole idea is for them to, benefit from these vocational training centers. It's not a box ticking exercise where we say we have got a vocational training center in Shurugwi, but you go there, there's no electricity, there's no computer, there's no modern equipment there. Then it tells a lot in terms of what kind of a skill are we going to produce from that particular vocational training center. So like what Honorable Malenganis was said, we wouldn't want a situation whereby we are having an empty vessel that is moving on our streets, but the person would have, passed through those, places which we created for the purposes of imparting, critical skills. So for us to achieve that, we need youths to raise their voice, because they are the ones who know what they want. And if they are not going to raise their voice, if they are not going to participate in these processes, we will then have a problem whereby their expectations will not be fully met. And then going to people with certificates, to me, it is a matter of creating an environment. Because I think those who are going to universities, we are taking the route to go through universities. At a certain point, these people then complement each other. But it can only happen if the environment is conducive. It can only happen if there's consciousness. Because we were discussing to say, some people, they think that if I'm to train as a carpenter, to use the modern language, but imagine a person who is a skilled carpenter. He knows how to do office furniture, but he's not a good marketer. Somebody goes to use it, he's going to do marketing there. These two people, they collaborate. Imagine the kind of impact these people will have in the furniture industry. So it's neither here nor there, whatever route these youths will take. But at the end of the day, what we want is skilled youths who then rise above unemployment that we are having, and also who will be able to take care of themselves and contribute to the growth of our economy.
Fantastic.
Maybe to
Please come
buttress,
in. Yeah.
to buttress what he's saying, you realize that you raised the question of certificate bearers who are not employed. The problem is everyone else now is pursuing the issue of holding a certificate. So if you throw a stone at random in the city center, it's likely you are likely to hit a graduate. So everyone else is looking for a job, but who is creating the job? That is where we need skills.
Very, very pertinent points both the honourable members make here. You talked about the budget process and how important it is to have consultation. Many youths don't even know that they have a say or that they come in somewhere. Where do they come in? That's a national exercise. Honourable Malinganiso. Vanopinda Papi.
So members of parliament have 3, if not 4 roles, one of which is oversight. The other is legislative, which is lawmaking. The other is representation. And the other, which is budget passing or budget monitoring throughout the year. So you realize that the representation factor is where the honorable MPs, where we charge the MPs in our parliamentary youth caucus to engage as much, to create awareness. How do we create awareness? Look, this platform is just given us. Those that are listening, if they didn't know that they have a say, that is where they engage maybe their MP with their concerns. So the Parliamentary Youth Caucus is structured in a way that every other honorable member sits in a specific portfolio committee that plays oversight role in a certain ministry, on a certain ministry. So what we do is we try and engage a lot of youth wherever we come from, hear their concerns. After hearing their concerns, we represent such concerns on oversight, when we advocate also for budget. You see, ministers can come with their budget bids. Should these bids actually accommodate or actually address the issues of our youth? If they don't, because the budget process, we talk first with these ministries, then we go where we represent such a ministry to say such and such a ministry must be accorded more. For example, the youth, the Minister of Youth Empowerment and Vocational Training, we always say if their bid is 2 billion, just an example, they should be given the 2 billion because we have a demographic dividend that's bigger. We claim the bigger chunk of the population. So the money we want must be afforded to us if we are to realize Vision 2030.
Indeed, Honourable Chikumbi, you want to come in there?
Yeah, my contribution on that is that the challenge that we face is that we have youths who do not understand the role that their member of parliament or their parliamentary representative play. So, when I'm moving in Budiro South, youths will be asking me for money to buy super. Can you buy us alcohol and stuff?
And Mukuru.
That's not the role that
an MP
must play. Yes.
So clarify the roles
yes.
for us.
So like what Honorable Malinganiso just said, we play an oversight role. We contribute to the formulation of policies and the legislative agenda for this country. So for youths, they must take their MPs to task. They should know each and every week what have you done in parliament to represent us as young people. They should also be bringing their issues that are policy related to their member of parliament to say, no, we have got this issue, we want this issue addressed. Can you go and present us on this particular issue? They should also be following in terms of these important processes, like I've said, because a budget process it's something that's public, something that's not it's not a secret that is done without the knowledge of the members of the public. So now they should be in the understanding that now we are in the budget season, so they should be actually talking to their MP. A member of parliament, we have got these issues. Can you go and represent us on these particular issues? Like what you also said, this is a caucus. right? But we have got standing committees that we have in Parliament. For instance, I sit in ICT Portfolio Committee, I sit in Energy, I also sit in Youth Development Portfolio Committee. So as a member who is in this caucus, I should make sure that in these other committees, I'm representing the youths. Because youths, the interest of our youth, they cut across all the ministries that we have at the moment. Even if it's in the Ministry of Agriculture, even if it's in the Ministry of Energy, these are the young people who have got their small businesses who are failing to run their business due to unavailability of electricity. So they should be having interest. So the interest that these youths must have is not just those which are particular to them. For instance, getting benefits as youths, but also in other sectors, because at the end of the day, it's a whole of government approach. Whatever that's going to happen in the Ministry of ICT will also affect them, even those who are interested in agriculture. If they cannot make calls, they not connect, it's also going to affect them. So what's important is for our youths to know the roles that we play as a member of Parliament, and they must hold us to account. And also, we have got issues now with other MPs who do not know the roles that they are supposed to play. Maybe to say they know, but maybe they just don't want to play those roles. That's why we then say, when we now sit in other committees, we then should also make sure that we are always whipping those MPs to make sure that they don't deviate from their responsibilities. And there's also cater for the interest of the young people. Like what he said, these youths, they constitute a very huge dividend. We cannot, because if we miss on it now, it's going to be a problem in the near future. We cannot afford to miss that.
If you're just joining us, so we are talking all about the youth, innovation, skilling the future, the role that you play. I say you, that we, because I'm a youth as well, that we play as youths going forward. I'm here with members of the Parliamentary Youth Caucus, Honourable Taurai Dexter Malinganiso and Honourable Darlington Chigumbu, having some very important conversations here. The aspects that you talked about, I'm coming to you once again, Honourable Malinganiso, around the gaps that exist currently. What are some of those gaps that you can highlight, perhaps two, and some of the measures that you've taken to bridge these gaps?
Okay, for example, if you could, one of the days, happen to read the writings of Carter G. Woodson, he intimated of the miseducation of the Negro. For the miseducation of the Negro, he was actually alluding to the situation I think I talked of earlier, where
that colonial hangover,
you see,
like.
Yeah. So the idea now is we have a motion. The motion is to be moved in my name, fortunately, where we identified that whereas certain sections of the Constitution guarantee education, and maybe is it. I'm not sure of the chapter that also guarantees free education. But the idea is, what is the gaps? What is in our curriculum? We appreciate Education 5.0, but is it enough to actually inculcate or impart these skills in our young people? So the motion actually seeks to address that. Whilst we have vocational training centers, the gaps we have identified is we have more than 2 million youth that are not in education or that are not employed, that are not in training. But the vocational training centers at current occupy not more, can actually accommodate more than 30,000. So to actually address that shortage of skills, what we should do is arriving at a place where even primary education is vocationalized. By vocationalizing education, we mean we identify the talent of a child. Organic solidarity. Somebody is a builder, somebody is a plumber, somebody is a painter, etc., etc. So those young ones start to be nurtured in what their calling is. If they are builders, they are trained in building, but not building that is theoretical, but practical, that they are tested according to how they have practically demonstrated their ability to actually produce something that is standard. So if it starts from primary school, secondary school, we will also have actually demystify this fear that vocational training centers are in afterthought. You might have heard Honorable Jikumbu saying, even if you failed Form 4, you don't have 5 O levels. I don't want to use the word failed. You didn't attain 5 O levels. You can still go to a vocational training center. So this creates an impression that this is a hive of failures, according to the set standards, the colonial hangover you're talking about. So if one is actually equipped with a skill, maybe even if they drop out at Form 3, they can go and still be builders. So we want a situation whereby, because we cannot then begin to build vocational training centers to the tune of more than 600,000 students to be accommodated there. But if we actually take the resources and fund the technical teaching in schools, in our public schools, this is happening at Watershed, this is happening at Lomagundi, this is happening at Peterhouse, at Falcon. This is what we need. I know we cannot do it overnight, but ours is to compel the government to avail the resources to arrive at a place where such skills are actually being taught from primary school.
Catching them young, as they say. Honorable Chikumbu coming in, maybe just state 2 challenges as well and how you've addressed them.
Yeah, the major challenge that's there is the challenge of awareness and advocacy. He's said very, very important aspects of our education system. Currently we have got an education system that classifies someone as a failure. But I wouldn't agree to say someone who did grade 1 to grade 7 to Form 4, and then attains 2 ordinary level subjects, you call that person a failure. To me, that person is not a failure. So we are perpetuating that colonial mentality of classifying a black child as a failure.
Only based on academic performance,
exactly.
And you are saying there's more.
Exactly. So
there's
unfortunately, exactly. Unfortunately, now we have not raised enough awareness to say there's no one who is a failure. You just need to be skilled in a certain area. Just pick the area that you think you are good at. Are you good at dressmaking? Because what's important is to pay your bills at the end of the day. So we just want people who are capable of paying their bills. You can do that by being. I know I would have ruffled feathers of people who attained PhDs, but to me, I don't think a person who got from grade 1 to Form 4 is a failure. So we need to raise enough awareness to our young people, because these people, they are becoming desperate. Why? Because the person would have failed to attain, let's say, 5 O levels, and that person then would say to himself or herself, you know what, I'm a failure. But that person is not a failure. They just need to be skilled in a certain in a certain field. So we need to raise awareness to say, you might fail to garner 5 O levels, but still you can have a career somewhere. That's when we talk of these vocational training centers. You can go there and be trained in whatever area that you think you are good at. And unfortunately, like what also Honorable Malengans has said, we have got millions of youths who are not in any formal education, who are not in any training program. Yet these vocational training centers, they've got capacity that does not go above 30K. So this is an area that we think, us as parliamentarians, we should be more vocal about, and also the youths. They must be aware of this challenge, and they should also raise their voice to say, no, we need more of these, because at the end of the day, we just want people who are skilled. So there's this issue of awareness. Number 2, those which are available, they are not properly equipped. You have spoken about innovation. I feel the word innovation is one of the most abused words in Africa. Why? Because we don't have conducive environment for us to be innovative. So when you talk of innovation, we are just talking of a child who would have copied a solution somewhere in America, in India, and then they just replicate that solution here. The solution would not be speaking to our circumstances. So to me, it's not innovation. Not to say our people they've got not that capacity to be innovative. No, they have got the capacity. But what's lacking is the conducive environment for them, to be to top of the world innovators. So what's lacking now is to capacitate whatever that we have at the moment, to enable our youth to showcase their talents, to showcase what they can do. That's why I found out that most of the innovative ideas that would have been done by Zimbabweans, if you follow closely, you find out that the person who would have innovated that idea did that out of Zimbabwe. Why? Because they would have done it in an environment that's conducive. So I think if those two areas are to be addressed, we will go a long way in ensuring that we have got youths who are skilled, youths who are not just skilled, but skilled with the right capacities and capabilities.
Absolutely. The numbers to get in touch with us are 0719 100 404. I'll be opening up my phone lines in just a moment. If you are a youth listening to this program and you would like to connect with honorable members of parliament in the studio, Honorable Malinganiso and Honorable Chugumbu, we like to be very practical, the low-hanging fruit. Who wants to get involved? Where can they go tomorrow at 8 a.m. to get started?
If it is vocational training, every province is a vocational training center. To access the information, there is in every district a youth officer who represents the Ministry of Youth. They can get the information there. And also, as the Parliamentary Youth Caucus, what we have planned, what we call the Youth Inclusive Budget Conference, where youth in agriculture, youth in tourism, youth in what are to be invited, so to teach us on their expectations, to equip us on their expectations, so that we are their mouthpieces. We do not speak from our ignorance or sing from the hymn of drunkards, but we speak from exactly what the youth would have wanted us to.
I like that. The Shona language is so deep. And we've got messages coming in from our listeners. This is a member of your constituency, Honorable Malingani. So Anzindakamira MP Vangwezimba West, Varukugona Basa. Ndichendere Basa Rukwitra na Honorable Malingani, so Mujimba West, Anzindiripa Jimba Pachikambi. So that's a message. They're coming in. I suppose they're recognizing some of the work going on out there that you're doing in your constituency. Another message coming in from Sekruba Bafe, and he's an advocate for catching them young as well. And he actually sends a picture of himself and a young man who dropped out of primary school at a tender age. He says he facilitated his training in carpentry and joinery, and now he's a proud landlord. His children are learning in A schools. He has got a skill and he's now an expert in his field of practice. And he says we need a mind shift. It's not about holding useless degrees or diplomas, PhDs, etc. It's about innovation, creativity, focus, and the desire and appetite to learn more. Amukore uno jakuda life skills training. And he says anzindofunga dingindira irindiro rinofanira kubatwa kuti tinge tichifamba mberi anzikwaziwai vedare vedu. So quick comments from you. I see Honorable Chukumbu very tickled there, wanting to say something.
So this is very, very, very interesting. I think the comment by Sekuru said Sekuru Babafe, right? So in my constituents, I've argued with some member of the community to say, look, we need to give our kids what I would call soft skills. You see, there are people who are making money simply because they can play chess. There are people who are making money simply because they can draw, they can do painting. There are people who are making money simply because they can do some coding, they can do graphic design. And if you see these skills, they are soft skills in the sense that you can be a doctor but being a graphic designer at the same time. It doesn't affect you in another field that you might choose. But you find out that most people, they become desperate if you are employed as a truck driver. If you lose your job, you'll be desperate because you've got no other soft skill that you can use at that particular moment until that time you get another job to survive. So I think what this listener said resonates so well with what we believe in. I think I've also had some conversations with Honorable Malingani, so as a member of parliament, to discuss what we'll be doing in our different constituencies. I think he also believes in the same, to say people need to be equipped with skills. It's very relevant skills, because at the end of the day, what we want is the kind of youth who would be able to take care of himself or herself, who would not then end up being desperate and getting into Mkozodo and Mtoriro, because running very desperate. And also I would want to quickly comment on this program that Honorable Malinga has just explained to us, to say this is a very, very important program. How is it important? It is important in sense that it's going to include the youths out there to contribute to whatever parliamentary processes that you are about to get into in the very soon, as we will be doing our budget process. Number one. Number two, it's also an opportunity for the young people to appreciate that when it comes to their personal development, when it comes to national development, we don't have to be partisan, because they are going to see us working together as members of parliament. They are also going to be selected not based on partisan lines. We want all youth to come, and the environment will be apolitical. Why? We don't want a situation whereby you fail to get business because you are simply saying, I can't do business with this person because he's from the party that I don't subscribe to. We don't want that. So we want us to work together. We want us to collaborate. So it's an opportunity for them now to come and witness how we work in parliament, and also they should tell us what they expect. Like what he said, we are in parliament as representatives who were sent there by the electorate. So whatever we do there, we are not doing things that we think are ideal, but we are doing things that they should tell us they need them done.
I like that, and just a reinforcement to ensure that these issues are represented, and just reinforcing that the youth are indeed the future. We've fast run out of time, Honorable Malinganiso and Honorable Chikumbu. In closing, a quick closing reflection from you both, Honorable Malinganiso.
I would like to say kudos to that youth. We said I'm doing well. It actually gives me more energy, more fuel to continue being the slave I am. And kudos also to Sekruba Faye. We need more champions like him.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
If Zimbabwe can turn that way,
we're on the right track.
It will be a better place.
I love it. Honorable Chikumbu, your closing reflections?
So I would say it has been a wonderful opportunity for us to explain what we do as members of parliament. And we just want to say to the people who are listening, we are in parliament because makati tuma saka kana tikadzoka kwamuri tiudziye zvekuita kuparliament. So we are not mashefu enyu, we are your slaves. Thank you so much.
I don't know about this slave narrative, but another day we'll talk about this. I like that we're getting into the miseducation of the Negro and so forth. But our honorable members of parliament here present, thank you so much for coming in and for reigniting, I think, something in the youths, and knowing that there is a program that they can get involved in. You talked about a pre-budget consultation meeting. When is that happening?
End of September.
All right, and I'm sure we will.
20th to 20th and 21st. So
Okay.
it's a 2-day event.
All right.
Yeah. So what will happen is the youths will be selected based on their preferred domains. If you are in agriculture, if you are in mining, if you are in tourism, and at the end of the day, they will then be transported from old parliament building then to the new parliament building. But I think the whole program will be released very soon.
Thank you so
And
much.
it's youth from across Zimbabwe.
From across Zimbabwe. Yeah.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Really exciting. We're looking forward to that. And of course, we will share more details as they are made available at the exchange this evening, talking all about the mandate of Parliament, of the Parliamentary Youth Caucus, skilling the future. We talked about vocational training and, of course, the role that you play as a youth in Zimbabwe, biggest demographic. So we've got so much to work hard for. And Honorable Taurai Dexter Malinganiso for Zimba South, Honorable Darlington Chigumbu representing Zimba West, and Budiriro South.
It's Zimba South.
Zimba South, all right. Oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you so much, Honorable Malinganiso. Thank you so much, Honorable Chigumbu.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.